welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video. I'm finally going to be filming the A to Z favorites video. I know that this one has been done by quite a few people. I'm not sure who the original creator was, but I will do my research before I post this, and I will have them linked below as well as their video and some other videos that I might find of A to Z favorites in case you guys like this style of video and are interested in seeing what some other creators have to say about their favorites from A to Z. So what I did was I wrote down from A to Z a brand that like matched up with each letter of the alphabet. So for example, like B, I have Bite Beauty, and I chose my favorite product from that brand to share with you guys today. So there are only two letters I skipped. I skipped X and Z. Though I could have done something from Zoeva for Z. However, I've only ever tried one Zoeva palette, and I'm like not a huge fan of it, so I was like, I'm gonna skip that letter. But if you guys are interested in hearing 24 favorites from 24 different brands essentially, then stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing before you leave today. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all of the things, and other than that, let's just jump into the video. Currently sipping on Dunkin' Donuts Polar Peppermint Coffee. Have you guys tried the Polar Peppermint? I think it's phenomenal. I would love to know your favorite coffee down below. All right, we are just gonna go from A to Z, starting with letter A. I have an item from Armani Beauty, and I am going with the Neo Nude Foundation. You guys know I have fallen in love with this foundation this year. This actually is in like my very, very self-tanned summer shade, so I am considering picking this up in my winter shade because I think that this is absolutely beautiful. This is like my perfect foundation in a bottle. It leans more like radiant or just like natural with like a hint of a glow, and it's more like light to medium coverage, which is really my sweet spot, but it is just so stunning. I picked this up on a whim. If you guys have heard me talk about this before, you know I picked this up on a whim, and I'm so happy I did because I absolutely love this foundation. This is going to be a new staple, always want to have in my collection, so definitely have to go with this one for letter A. For letter B, I selected Bite Beauty, and these are newer to my collection. I have had this one I think for a couple months now, and then I went on to buy this one. So these are their Yay Sayer plumping lip glosses, and they're supposed to have cinnamon oil in it. I think that's supposed to like make your lips feel plumper or look plumper. I don't notice that my lips plump up when using these. They definitely give a very glossy effect to the lips and make the lips look really like juicy, but I don't notice like with like the buxom lip glosses, like, you know, when you get that tingling sensation. I definitely don't get that with these from Bite. I have the shades Cinnamon Twist, which is really beautiful for this time of year, and then Guava Puff, which is like my perfect cool toned pink for all year round. These are expensive. I believe they're $24, but I also love the applicator on these. So you twist the product up and you get this like plastic top, which in my opinion is a lot more sanitary than a lot of other lip glosses that I currently have in my collection. So I have really been enjoying these from Bite Beauty and would definitely recommend. For the letter C, I chose Charlotte Tilbury, and I recently hauled quite a bit from Charlotte. If you guys missed my Sephora VIB sale haul, I will link that. As of right now, without trying some of the new stuff that I have hauled from her, my current favorite from her, I think I would still have to give to the Hollywood Flawless Filter. This is just such a unique product. It just makes the skin look so beautiful, and it can be used in so many different ways. So you can use this as like an all over liquid highlight. You can just highlight like the places on your face you would normally highlight. This has like the slightest bit of coverage where you can kind of use it kind of like a very glowy tinted moisturizer. I just think it's beautiful. I have not found anything quite like this on the market. I know that there's tons of glowy primers out there and things like that, but there's something just so unique and special about this one. I also really like the Charlotte Tilbury like wands. I really like my blush wand, which I didn't used to love so much. I love my highlighter wand, and then I recently picked up the contour wand. But as of right now, I think my tippity top favorite from Charlotte would still have to go to this. For the letter D, I selected Dior. Can you guys guess what I'm gonna say? It's the Dior Forever foundation, and I really couldn't choose between the Dior Forever or the Dior Forever Skin Glow because I love both of these for different reasons. I love the Dior Forever if I want my makeup or I want my foundation to truly last me just all day long. This is kind of like a comfort matte or satin matte finish, and I think it is so beautiful. Gives like the perfect medium to full coverage without it looking like you just have like a full cake face. I just haven't found a foundation quite like this. And then the Dior Forever Skin Glow also is very long lasting. I wouldn't say it's quite as long lasting as the original Dior Forever, but it gives just the most beautiful radiance to the skin without towing the line of being too dewy. And I just think that this one is absolutely stunning as well. I know that these are very expensive foundations, but these are two that I always want to have in my collection. I've already repurchased this one once, and these would definitely be staples in my collection for foundation. For the letter E, I decided to go with Elsie Cosmetics, and I wanted to mention their Complete Remedy Silk Concealer. I have this going in my current Shop My Stash, and I forgot how much I really do love this concealer. The only thing that I don't love about it is the actual applicator. So this is, mine looks so messy. This is what the applicator looks like, and it's just like a little bit too big at times to like fit right into like the very corner of my like eye. So sometimes I will just like dab it underneath my eyes here, and then I kind of have to push it up my eye with my beauty sponge. But it gives the most beautiful medium coverage underneath the eyes, and it's so hydrating and comfortable. I really enjoy this. This is something that when I finish, I will repurchase this one. And I feel like Elsie Cosmetics doesn't get talked about too often, but I really do like their concealer. All right, for F, I chose Fenty Beauty, and there are so many things that I could have said for Fenty. I love the Fenty powder bronzer. I really like the Fenty cream blushes. I love the Fenty Killawatt highlighters. But if I was told I could truly only keep one product from Fenty Beauty, I think I would have to choose the Gloss Bombs. I love the Fenty Gloss Bomb. It is so beautiful. I love so many of the shades. My favorite shade, I think, is Sweet Mouth. I just have the mini right now, but thank goodness they made this permanent to their line, so you can buy this in the full size. I also really like the Fenty Original Gloss Bomb, and then these are two of my newest favorites from the recent holiday collection. I have Cake Shake as well as Taffy Tease, which is going to be so beautiful for next spring, summer. I'm hoping some of these become permanent to the line as well. These are just like so perfect. They aren't too sticky. They give the perfect amount of like wet, glossy looking look to the lips, and I'm a big fan of these. I feel like these are hit or miss on whether or not people like them or not, but for me, these are a absolute yes for me, and one of my favorite glosses in my entire collection. For the letter G, I went with the brand Glossier, and this was another really hard one because I really like the Glossier cloud paints, and I also really like the Hi-Fi Shine, the highlighter, not the Halo Scope, not the stick, but the Night Shine highlighter. I also really like. So I asked myself again if you could only keep one product from Glossier, and this was so hard because I would be so sad to not have either the Cloud Paint or the Night Shine. But truly, I just absolutely love the Glossier Wowder. It is so nice and lightweight, never looks heavy on the skin, sets down really nicely. I'm someone who doesn't like a super heavy powder. I have pretty dry skin, so really I'm just using powder to like lock things into place and hopefully get them to not move around as much. And this is just so nice and lightweight that it's just like my perfect powder. I could see if you wanted a heavier powder, if you had more oily skin, if this wouldn't be a favorite of yours, but for me this works so well. This is my second jar container, whatever you want to call it. This is my second container of this for this year, so if that tells you anything, I really like this powder. For the letter H, I went with the brand Hourglass. I like a lot of things from Hourglass too, but I had to go with the Hourglass blushes. I just grabbed Mood Exposure. I do have 4 of the full-size Hourglass blushes, but this was the first one that I had in my collection. Again, this is Mood Exposure, and this is the one that I probably get the most use out of. It's just this really beautiful light pink sort of mauve-y shade. Looks beautiful with everything. I've been trying to pan this for so long, for multiple years, and still, like, I've used this so many times and still I have not hit pan on this. So if you can get an Hourglass blush, like if they have it in the mini size, I just recommend the mini. I can get my blush brush to fit in this just fine, and it's gonna still last me forever. So I do really recommend the Hourglass blushes. I know they're expensive, but to me, they're absolutely worth it. For the letter I selected the brand Ilia. I've had a lot of hits and misses with Ilia. I love their mascara. Their mascara would probably be like a tie with the product that I'm about to recommend. And this is the Ilia Color Haze Multi-Use Pigment. I have really gotten into cream and liquid products this year, and I really have been enjoying this cream blush from Ilia. This is in the shade Before Today. Kind of a unique applicator for a cream blush. I believe you can also use this on your lips, but I only use it as a blush. It is very easy to work with. I just dab it onto my cheeks and it blends out really nicely. I wouldn't say that this totally sets down. It comes really close, but it doesn't totally set down, and it just leaves the like most beautiful finish to the cheeks because it's not a totally matte product. It's almost like a satin matte, and I just think it's so pretty. I think if you are a beginner, you would have a lot of luck using this type of formula. It's just really easy to work with, like I said, and I've been really impressed with this one from Ilia Beauty. For the letter J, I decided to go with JD Glow Cosmetics, and I've been a huge fan of the JD Glow singles. I have two of them in this in this Z palette right here. I have the shade Good God, which is this one right here, as well as Bora Bora, which is, I believe, this one right here. So here is Good God, which is, it's just so stinking beautiful. The camera doesn't even do it justice. And then I also have the shade Bora Bora. Again, just like so foiled, so pigmented, so freaking beautiful. I have only tried these single shadows from JD Glow, so it's not like I've tried other things, but I just couldn't resist the opportunity to just talk about the JD Glow singles on my channel because I think that they are so good. I believe it's $7 or $8 for the really, really large pans, and you guys, you will not regret it if you decide to pick up a couple shades. I definitely want to grab more from them, and I just cannot recommend their single shadows enough. All right, so for the letter K, I'm going with Kosas, and honestly, I freaking love everything that I've tried from Kosas. My least favorite product from them is their tinted face oil, but I still like that. I don't know if I would purchase it again when I finish mine, but that's the only product that I'm like on the fence of whether or not I would repurchase. So it was very difficult for me to pick a favorite from Kosas, but I decided to go with the, I think this is called the Revealer Concealer. And the reason I decided to go with this is because this is just like my absolute perfect concealer. It glides on like a dream. It's so thin in texture, but it still offers a really nice medium coverage. You could probably even build this up to full, and it's so hydrating underneath the eyes. Gives just this really nice brightening effect without being like a stark white underneath your eyes. I mean, assuming you color correct or like choose the correct color for your under eyes. It's such a good concealer. I have been so blown away by all Kosas products, but was really pleasantly surprised by this one. For the letter L, I decided to go with a Lawless Beauty, and I feel like I've talked about this a lot on my channel recently, but I really have fallen in love with this Baby One eyeshadow palette from Lawless Beauty. It's just an 8-pan eyeshadow palette, retails for $25, which I know sounds expensive. I personally think it's worth it. I have mentioned that I really wasn't a fan of the large Lawless The One eyeshadow palette, so I wasn't expecting to like this, honestly, but I was really curious to try it. First off, I absolutely love the color story. I've really been craving mauve tones lately. I keep mentioning, so I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but the only shade that I really don't use is the red one, and that's just because I don't really tend to reach for red eyeshadows. But the formula is so soft and easy to work with. It blends really easily. None of the shades muddy together, and the shimmers are also very beautiful. This one is definitely more of a subtle shimmer. I really like this one on the inner corner, and if you like a subtle lid shade, you would really enjoy this. And then this one is more intense, even without a wet brush. This looks so stinking beautiful on the lids, and I've just been so impressed by this palette from Lawless. Couldn't turn couldn't turn down an opportunity to talk about this again, so definitely my favorite from Lawless. For the letter M, I'm going with Melt Cosmetics, and I haven't tried a ton from Melt, but I have tried the Melt Stacks. I recently picked up one of their blush duos, and for my favorite, I had to just go in general with their eyeshadow palette formula. I think their eyeshadow palette formula is better than their stacks, or maybe it's just the stack that I had. I think I had the She's in Parties stack. I couldn't choose a favorite. I will say I prefer the shimmers in the Melt Smoke Sessions palettes to the mattes in this palette, but in these two palettes, I love both the mattes and shimmers. This is something that I didn't love at first. This was the first palette that I had from Melt, but after picking up the Melt Gemini palette, I really came to love this one a lot more because this is such a nice complementary palette to this. I'm struggling. Such a nice complementary palette to the Melt Gemini. The Melt Gemini I absolutely love because you guys know I love green shadows. I have my greens in here, but if I'm feeling just a neutral look, I can do neutral with this. And then most recently, I have been reaching into the Melt Rust palette so often. This is like the absolute fall dream to me in terms of tones and shades within this palette. There's really no dud shade for me in the Melt Rust palette. The only shade I don't really get a ton of use out of is the shade Ravage, and it's just because it's a really deep, like, satin shimmer shade. In the Gemini palette, I'm not a huge fan of the shade Gemini, which is this one right here. Other than that, I really do enjoy all of the shades in the Gemini. And then, as I said, in the Melt Smoke Sessions palette, I'm not a huge fan of the two mattes. These are darker mattes and obviously harder to work with, but all of the shimmers are just like drool. They are so foiled and stunning. So for Melt Cosmetics, it had to be their eyeshadow palettes. For the letter N, I chose the brand Nude Sticks. I've tried a few things from Nude Sticks, but I absolutely fell in love with this when I tried this. This is one of their nudies, and it's one of their dewy color blushes, and this is in the shade Sweet Peach Peony, which is just like the most gorgeous neutral blush shade in my opinion. And it does truly have such a beautiful dewy finish to it. This is just a little sample size. I would be interested in picking up a full size in this as well as other shades when I finish this. I've also had my eye on the Bondi Bay bronzer for quite some time now, as well as potentially one of their highlights, but as of right now, my favorite thing from Nude Sticks would be the shade Sweet Peach Peony. For the letter O, I selected Ofra Cosmetics, and I really love the Ofra glosses. I think they have good liquid lipsticks, but my favorite product from Ofra is the Chick Lit Blush. That was in collaboration with Samantha March and Ofra Cosmetics, obviously. I just think this is so beautiful. I love that it's a split pan, so you can do a matte blush, you can do just like a shimmery blush, or you can mix the two together to get this beautiful sort of satin blush. And it's just stunning. I'm going to do the two shades mixed together. I kind of just like to swirl my brush in, and that is, I hope, coming through. I don't know if it is, but that's the shade that I get. This is so beautiful. I think that Samantha March did such a nice job at choosing the shade for this, and just a huge congrats to her again. I did want to give an honorable mention for Ofra Cosmetics. I recently was sent their new Solstice palette through Octoly. They gifted this to me, and the reason this is honorable mention is I am not a huge fan of the Ofra eyeshadow formula. I used some of their eyeshadows today from this palette to create this look. But what I love about this palette is that you can pop out the shades, and I think that I'm going to have a ton of fun using this to kind of get me to use some of my single eyeshadows more. So I've actually already, so I popped out the shades that originally came in this palette. I'll pop a picture right here of what the palette looks like if you were to just buy this palette, and what mine, when it was sent to me, what it looked like. And then today So I used that original palette to create the look that I have today. I also reached into a few other palettes, but then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pop out some of my singles from my Z palette and pop them into here. I'm gonna try and use up this shade right here, and then I just did some fall tones as well as Pink Champagne, which I love, from Anastasia Beverly Hills, to see if it's in this palette, if I can get some more use out of it, because I've really enjoyed the two blushes in this Ofra palette. So clearly I like the Ofra blush formula. And then in here is Star Island, but you can pop these out as well if you have other highlighters from Ofra or other blushes that you would be interested in popping into this. So I wanted to give this honorable mention because I feel like this would be a really nice one if you're traveling, to kind of pop in whatever you're interested in traveling with. And then I'm going to try and just always have this in my rotation for my Shop My Stash, and maybe pop in new singles every week and see if it helps encourage me to get some more use out of some single shadows that typically get neglected within my collection. For the letter P, I selected Persona Cosmetics, and Persona, I've not tried anything that I don't like. I love her lip glosses, liquid lipsticks, eyeshadows, but I had to go with her blush because I have been loving her blush. This is the newest Persona product to my collection, and I just think her formula is really beautiful. I've heard this compared to the Buxom blushes, and I would agree that it kind of has this more satin finish where it's not a totally matte blush, but it also doesn't give a ton of shimmer to the cheeks. I have mine in the shade Georgia, which is this really beautiful peach shade. I'm also interested in picking up her other shade, which I believe is in the shade Carmel, because it just looks like the most beautiful shade for this time of year. The formula is so smooth and so soft, so easy to work with. And I'm a little bit upset with myself that I didn't buy these right when they released. And if she released more shades, I would definitely be interested in those as well. And like I said, I'm really interested in picking up the second shade in her blush line. So definitely had to be the blushes from Persona, but honestly, within her whole range, you can't go wrong. Even her highlighters I love. Just everything from Persona is like A++ in my opinion. Like I said, I'm skipping the letter Q. That brings us to R, and for R, I selected RMS Beauty. I haven't tried a ton from them, but I've tried their concealer, and I have a potted blush from them that I really like. But by far my favorite thing from RMS is their Living Luminizer Quad. I just have the mini. This is what mine looks like, and the reason I love this so much is because of these two highlighters right here. These are gorgeous. They are pretty intense, but because they're a cream formula, they just look so natural on the skin, and it just looks like, you are shooting like it looks like you're shooting a commercial for like a fragrance. I'm thinking of like the Aqua, is it Giorgio Armani Aqua? And you're like in a pool and you're just getting out of the pool and your cheeks are just like glistening. That is literally what you're gonna look like when you put on either of these two highlights. Just so beautiful. I definitely am interested in purchasing the full size of this when I go through those two mini highlights, because I just love this so much. This is something that, like, if I go traveling, when we can go traveling again, Vegas 2021, this is coming with me anytime I travel anywhere because it's so pretty. All right, for the letter S, I'm going with Smashbox. I love their Cali Contour Kit, and honestly, that would probably be like tied with what I'm about to tell you about, but I can't turn down the opportunity to continue to talk about this as well. I know I've mentioned this a ton on my channel recently, but the Smashbox Halo Healthy Glow All-in-One Tinted Moisturizer has quickly become my favorite tinted moisturizer in my collection. This is something that I had walked by the display of this so many times, and for some reason, the way that this has been displayed in stores has always caught my attention, but I was like, Smashbox, I don't really think a lot is great from them. Like, they have good liquid lipsticks. I also really like their Cali Contour, but other than that, Smashbox is a brand that just doesn't really get me interested. Finally, I was like, you know what? I just have had a thing for tinted moisturizers as well as just foundations this year, so I'm gonna give it a try, and boy, am I glad that I did. This gives such a beautiful, healthy glow to the skin. This is like the perfect name for this. It truly just gives the most healthy glow to the skin, and it's just like, it's just a dream in a tube, and my favorite tinted moisturizer by far now. So had to take the opportunity to talk about this again. I just mumbled all of my words together. That was like 5 words in one. For the letter T, I had to choose Tower 28. They have quickly become one of my favorite brands this year, and they're a brand, again, everything I've tried from them has been like A++. I love everything that I've tried, and it was really hard for me to choose a favorite, but it had to be these. The Tower 28 lip jellies are just so good. They make your lips look glossy, but they're like the least sticky lip gloss formula I have ever tried. I just like, it's like you just have to try it for yourself. And good news for you, even if you're not like a gloss type of a gal, they have this shade right here, which is in the shade Chill, which is just the nicest clear gloss ever. So if you just want a clear gloss that's not sticky, I mean, Tower 28's got your back. And then I grabbed the 3 newest to my collection, which are just like perfect nude shades. They also have some really beautiful like orange and red shades too. Highly recommend all of them. The ones that are like more pigmented actually do offer a pretty good amount of pigmentation to the lips, but I never really have to worry about them transferring onto my teeth or my face, so that's always a plus. The newest ones to my collection are Oat, which is a really beautiful pale nude, Cashew, which is a really nice mid-toned brown, and then also Coconut, which is a really nice mid-toned pink. So Tower 28, I mean, anything from the brand. The only thing I haven't tried is their highlight. I don't feel like I would like that, but everything else from the brand, honestly, like, just recommend checking out. For the letter U, I am going with Oma Beauty, and they're another brand that I've just recently started trying this year. I really like everything that I've tried. I've tried their concealer, foundation, and their contour and highlight stick. For my favorite, I'm going with their concealer. This is another one that's just so comfortable under the eyes. This definitely has more coverage than any of the other concealers I've mentioned today. This is nice and full coverage. This is going to be full coverage. I love the larger doe foot, and it has like a bend to it too, so it's like nice and flexible. This also has a really great shade range, and it's nice and hydrating underneath the eyes. It's really creamy. It's really nice. I feel like no matter your skin type, like, you would really like this. I don't get a ton of creasing under my eyes right away. Obviously, I do have creases on my under eye, and eventually my concealer creases, but I don't notice it really bad with this, and I never feel like my under eyes look heavy when wearing this. Absolutely something I would repurchase, recommend, all the fun things. So from Oma Beauty, I've liked everything I've tried, but for favorites, I would have to go with their concealer. For the letter V, I don't currently have this product in my collection, but I did want to quickly mention the Vita Liberata Body Blur. This is something that is like a lifesaver when I either go on vacation or it's the summertime. I use this on my legs all the time, and this truly is airbrush in a bottle. It can be a little bit messy, but it is just going to smooth out wherever you put it on. I usually just put it on my legs, and it gives like a nice tan look to the legs, and it just smooths everything out. So if you are like uncomfortable or self-conscious about your legs, highly recommend Vita Liberata's Body Blur. It's something that I will absolutely be repurchasing either when I go on vacation next or when next summer rolls around. It's such a good product, definitely worth the investment. I think it's pretty expensive, but I think it's worth every penny if you are self-conscious about your legs like me. For the letter W, I selected Wander Beauty, and I am choosing their Mile High Club mascara. This is a tubing mascara, and I have come to find that I love a good tubing mascara because I feel like if I don't wear a tubing mascara, I have mascara all over my face at all times. This is really expensive. It's $26 or $28, so it is expensive, but this gives a really beautiful length and volume to the lashes, and it does not budge. So if you're looking for a really nice mascara that isn't going to budge on you and is going to give you length and volume, I feel like I just like took a sentence and then reversed it and said the same sentence. This is a great mascara and a favorite from Wander Beauty for me. All right, we are also skipping the letter X, which brings us to the letter Y and brings us to the last product that I have to mention because I don't have one for Z. So for the letter Y, I am recommending the YSL Touche Eclat Radiance Awakening Foundation. This is currently going in a project, and I forgot how much I freaking love this foundation. I also really like the YSL like lip stains. I think they're really nice, but This is something that I always want to have in my collection. It's a staple, forever foundation for me. I am interested in trying the YSL All Hours, but to my understanding, that's more of a mattifying foundation. I would just really like to try it. This, again, gives a really beautiful, healthy glow to the skin. It is definitely more radiant. If you have oily skin, I don't think that you will like this. Sometimes if I don't set this with the powder, I can get a little bit of settling in my fine lines, but if I set my forehead with a powder, this is just so beautiful. This is something that just like I always feel like my best in, similar to the Dior foundations. There's just something about this foundation that I find to be really unique. It also has SPF 22 in it, which, I mean, it's not going to save you from getting a sunburn if you're out in like the sun. You're going to need more SPF. What am I trying to say? I really like this foundation. It's beautiful and I would recommend it. All right, you guys, that is gonna wrap it up for my A to Z favorites. I would love to hear from you guys. What are some of your favorite products from either the brands that I mentioned or maybe other brands that start with a letter of the alphabet? Like, is that possible? Kidding. Anyway, thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting my channel as you always do, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye.